Vancouver-based breaking champion Phil Wizard was first introduced to the sport of breakdancing by Jerris from the Now and Never crew at the Vancouver Art Gallery at the age of 11. What attracted him to breaking was the many elements that make up breakdancing and not even the hip-hop music. His fascination was the physical challenges that the sport presented.
I started breaking when I was 11 years old. I saw it for the very first time on the streets of my city, Vancouver, BC, Canada. There was like a group that was just street performing. So they're performing on the street. I walked by, I saw it, and I was like, whoa, it blew my mind. They were spinning on their heads, they were doing all these crazy movements. And I quickly got into it when I started picking it up. I think it was the combination of things for me. It was physically difficult and hard and challenging, so it really pushed me, but also the creative aspect. For me, breaking is an art form. The creativity you can put into it, and the mix of both is what I think grew the love constantly.
The 11-year-old breakdancer had the support of his parents initially, but as Phil looked at taking the plunge by making the sport a professional career, doubts crept in.
My parents were supportive. It was something for me to do. They were cool with it. It changed a little bit when I said I wanted to do this full time. Then they were like, we don't know about that. But it took some time to kind of convince them, but they were always very supportive. But yeah, it's hard. You know, when you're doing something like breaking, especially when I started, there weren't a lot of financially viable options to kind of pursue breaking. And it was very difficult. Only the top 1%, like a handful of people ever made it competitive breaking, you know? With the Olympics now, stuff like that, things have changed. And so there's a lot more opportunities now, which is fantastic.
Breakdancing made its Olympic debut at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires in 2018. After the successful transition, breaking was chosen to feature on the Paris 2024 Sports Olympic program as a new sport along with surfing, skateboarding and sport climbing. As one of the top breakers in the world, international breaking champion Phil Wizard has his sights on winning a first in the sport, and the prospect of winning an Olympic medal has given breakers around the world something to aim for.
I'm very lucky, to be completely honest. Like, I never really watched the Olympics growing up. I was always watching breaking. I was watching Rebel BC1. I was watching the biggest breaking events, and I was very lucky with the timing of my career and how I was doing well, and then the Olympics was announced, and then it was qualification, so everything kind of worked out. But yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. It's an opportunity for more people to see breaking, for more kids to see it and fall in love with it, for more sponsors. So it's definitely growing, which is fantastic.
The road to glory for the top breakers in the world has many obstacles, as there are some really good breakers around the world with experience at competing at the highest level.
Any competitive field, when you're competing at the highest level, it gets stressful. You have your own expectations, but you have the expectations now with something like the Olympics, of your country, of your sponsors, different things. But that's part of the job as a professional and a professional athlete, a professional competitor, is being able to manage those expectations and being able to control that stress. Like, that's half the battle. When you're competing at that level, everyone is physically able to beat everyone else, right? It's who's mentally ready that day. So that is the other side of it that maybe not so many people know of.
At the top end of the sport, talent is almost secondary. Winning in the mind and staying in top physical condition is imperative. How do the best in the world keep in prime shape and also win in the mind?
When you're looking at something like the Olympics, everyone going there is the highest level. So once again, when you're competing at that level, everyone is physically able to beat everyone else. Everyone is capable to beat everyone else. It's whose day that is. Just for me, I journal a lot. I like to meditate in the mornings. For me, I like to just clear my head whenever I can. For us, like, breaking is a dance, but music is very calming for me too. So listening to music that calms me down, I think everyone kind of has their own strategies.
Outside of Phil, which breakers are standing between him and the sought-after medal?
For me personally, there's a lot of people I watch out for. For example, Victor from the United States, Shiga Kicks from Japan, Danny Dan from France. Those are just a couple names, but there's a lot out there. Wing from Korea, Hong Ten from Korea, Easton from Japan. There's so many high-level people you have to watch out for, and that's what makes breaking so fun for me. You go there and really have to see, is it your day or not, and you really have to push past those barriers on that day.
As a parting shot, what words of advice does international breaking champion Phil Wizard have for those starting out in the sport?
For me, like, any advice I would give is just like, keep an open mind. You know, with breaking, it's easy to maybe form an ego and think that you know everything. Even for me, I know nothing. I'm constantly learning as I go, and I think that's the mentality you have to have with something like breaking, because there's always another level to get to. There's always something you can learn from people older than you, but also people younger than you. I learn from kids all the time, seeing their energy, seeing their passion, and so keep an open mind, keep learning, and you're always a student.
For SABC News, this is Thando Mxoli.